Hey, we're back for another positive talk. Hopefully all of you are doing well. I know my hair is changing every single day, it seems. I messed up last time because it did things that it wasn't supposed to do. So I'm fixing it, and we're in stage one of the fix. We're going to be a different color next positive talk, I promise. So super excited about going live. I just got done watching one of Tony Robbins' seminars and just signed up for another. So I've been having a good year so far, and I figured since it's 2022, I am a life path number 22. I'm 33. I was born in 88. We're killing it with those double numbers. So let's see. Hopefully I won't have to lower my chair too much. Hello.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I literally was like bleaching my hair while I was like jamming out to Tony Robbins, like
Funny.
unleash your power type stuff. So I'm in a really good headspace.
Good. It looks good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is the yellow phase before it turns a different color. So we'll see how it goes.
Oh, what's the color? What's the next color?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
It's gonna be fun to discover what color it changes next.
Yes.
How's your day going so far? I know it's earlier for you.
Yeah, it's good. It's 2 o'clock here. It's good. I just got some breakfast, some coffee. I've been hanging out.
Best way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself so people know who you are, and then we can kind of
Sure.
get into a discussion.
Yeah. My name's Dean Sesteri. I'm an actor. I'm currently on the Fiddler on the Roof national tour. We are in San Luis Obispo, California right now, which is stunning. Um, and the weather is just incredible compared to living in New York at this time. So this has been a nice change. But yeah, I've been living in New York for a couple of years now, just doing the acting thing and trying to, survive life as an artist.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
awesome. And I know that like during the pandemic, like that lifestyle can be a little bit of a struggle because for a while that it looked like it was going to be something short and temporary, and then it kind
Right.
of turned into something more long term. Which, how did you kind of manage through that with like the mental headspace?
Yeah. I mean, I was actually on this tour, like I joined the tour like 10 days before the pandemic hit. And we just thought we had a 2 week layoff. And so we were kind of just like, great vacation for 2 weeks. And then that turned into almost 2 years. Um, but yeah, it was tough. It was just kind of like it all happened so fast. It was just like it went from 0 to 100 so quickly that it took like I feel like months for me personally to kind of just through what was happening. Like it like took a long time
Yeah,
for it to just sink in. Um, and I wound up going home for a little bit and just kind of like waiting it out there for a while with my family, which was great. But yeah, as an artist, it's just hard because my parents are teachers and they work in sales, so like it just like their lives were going back to normal, and my sisters were in school, so it was like okay, everything else around me is like starting to pick up, but there's still nothing happening in my career or like my career path or anything like that. So um it was tough trying to like of course we all did the pivot thing. I tried real estate for a hot second. I tried to like I don't even know. I was like trying all these different avenues just to see what was gonna like keep me afloat until things came back. But it's been really lovely to like jump back into something familiar and um, yeah, just to be back to work finally. It's like definitely very strange with all the COVID protocols and things like that, but we're working and it's things are happening. So I'm gonna yeah, just pray it continues like this. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I made it through so many years of no COVID, and then right at the beginning of 2022, COVID slapped me in the face really hard. And
No.
like, I would consider myself a pretty healthy person, and COVID definitely knocked me for the loop. There was
Yeah.
like one night where I was just like, maybe I should go to the hospital. I think that that might be a better route than what I'm currently doing because just walking from my bedroom to my bathroom, which is like probably 6 steps, like I felt like I was dying and I could not breathe. So
Oh
it
my
was just
God.
like, wow, now I kind of understand why like people with weakened immune systems were getting
Right.
wiped out by this, because I was perfectly fine at the beginning of the year and then it just
Yeah.
hit.
Wow. I'm so sorry that you had like such a tough experience.
Yeah, and it's funny
Yeah.
because my sister, she had like a cough for a day and then she was perfectly fine. And
Yeah. I know.
me,
There's like
me and
no,
Pacha, which is our cat, he got it as well.
no
And
way.
so him and I were just laying in bed, just dying.
I don't even think I knew that animals could get it.
Yeah, we called the vet
Wow.
and we're like, what are we supposed to do? Because he sounded like me, like breathing like he had just run a marathon and was like dying. And they're like,
Oh my
just
God.
sit in the bathroom, let the like steam of this shower like clear out his sinuses. And I was like, poor cat.
Damn. I'm so sorry. That's so tragic.
We made it
I'm
through
glad you're
it.
okay. Yeah, I'm glad you're okay.
We made it through it, and I'm proud that I was able to host 3 positive talks while I was dealing with it. So it's just like
Love it.
drink hot tea, make it through an hour, and then go back to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of TV, I'm sure too.
Yes. So when it comes to hardships and stuff that you have kind of had to overcome in life, what are some things that you've kind of battled with? Because I know every single person out there has done something that they've had to overcome. We might
Yeah.
not post on social media to where people can kind of see that. Sometimes they think that
Right.
we're living this perfect life, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of things that we all struggle with.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I mean, I know we like briefly talked about it, but just like something that I've had to work through over the last couple of years, um, is like a lot of like body image issues, and like I don't see a lot of people, specifically men, like post about stuff like that on social media, and so it's very easy to feel like you're kind of alone in that. But I just feel like the last couple of years dealing with mental health overall has just been like a big thing, going to therapy and trying to like start finally dealing with a lot of the things that I've been like keeping down for a long time. But I mean, body image stuff and like, I mean, trigger warning for anyone out there that deals with this as well, but like body dysmorphia and things like that, it just has been something that's, I think for so long I thought was just kind of like what everyone feels. Like I didn't really understand that it was like something that had like a name or a label until a couple of years ago, but definitely something that it has like tracked back since I'm like 7 or 8 years old. Um, and so learning how to, especially in like the performing industry and an industry that's based so much off of aesthetic and look and all those things, like how to navigate that and not let it like consume me and like break me has been really interesting and something my therapist and I talk about a lot. But even like I've been going to my therapist for 3 years now, and it wasn't even something I felt comfortable talking about until maybe a year ago, or like even had the desire to bring up because I didn't even know where it was gonna kind of take me. So um, yeah, that's been the recent hurdle that we're getting over.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of times like we suffer in silence, whether it's we think we're the only one or we think that we don't have a right to feel the way that we feel because maybe other things in our life aren't so bad.
Hmm.
And I think that that's something that I had to also kind of overcome was I would constantly be like, you know what, I don't have it the worst.
Hmm.
And I would always feel guilty for having any struggles of my own that seemed so small compared to other people. But not sharing it and not getting the help was eating me up inside to the point where I was destroying myself because I
Hmm.
didn't feel like I had the right to hurt or suffer
Right.
because it wasn't the worst pain in the world. But
Yeah.
comparing yourself to others only allows you to think that, well, it's so much smaller here. And comparison in any like avenue you look at, whether it's like comparing yourself in a healthier, better way versus the negatives, like you can destroy yourself from both sides, which I
Right.
wasn't realizing that it was caving in from both sides. And it got to the point where I was just like, I should be happy. Why am I not happy? And I was
Hmm.
like, you know what? Maybe therapy would be a healthy choice to kind of walk this way.
Yeah. We love therapy. Therapy is the best.
So you said that at one point you weren't even comfortable talking about it at all, but now we're on an Instagram live where you're talking to me, kind of a stranger. We've talked a
Yeah.
little bit, but not so much. And then there's also people watching. Like, what were some of your like breakthroughs to kind of form a healthier relationship about that?
Yeah, I mean, this is honestly the first time I've ever like talked about it with anyone other than like my two best friends, um, publicly, I guess. But yeah, I think for so long I just kind of, like you were saying, I just let it be something that I was like, this is not the worst thing. I can deal with it. I was also worried about what other people would. I don't know. I think we all do, but we get in our head about like, okay, well, if I express this to someone, and what are they going to think of, like, are they going to think I'm lying about it? Are they going to think I'm looking for attention? Or are they like, I don't know. It was just like something that I was like, okay, if I talk about this, people are probably not going to like take me seriously, or so it's better to just deal with it. And but it got to the point of like I would like wake up every morning, like, and I mean, it still happens, but like the first thing I think about is just like, okay, how do I look today? What am I going to eat? What is the way I eat? How is the way I eat going to affect how I feel about myself for the rest of the day? And it would just like, it got to the point where I was like, this is like consuming almost every thought of my day to day. Um, and I got good at hiding it. I got good at not talking about it or not like making it seem like it was something that really affected me. But at the end of the day, I just needed to like get it off my chest, especially with the therapist who is supposed to be someone that you can confide in and that is going to help you through it. And so I was like, okay, let me just start there. If I like bring this up, maybe we can like figure out, a way to just like kind of take some of the pressure off of me dealing with this on my own. At least someone else knows about it. Um, and someone that is, gone to school to give me the advice that I need and like knows what steps we should take moving forward. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's really hard to like make that initial step of like confiding in just that one person, but I think whether it be a therapist or a friend or a family member that you feel close with, just like telling somebody so somebody else is aware of it kind of releases a lot of the power that it has over you.
Yeah. I think that when it comes to struggles that you're kind of dealing with, I always suggest like therapist first and then friends and family later, just
Hmm.
because I think that one thing you have to realize is like we're all traumatized in one way or another, and we've
Hmm.
all battled our traumas in different ways. And sometimes a friend without a therapist will find an effective way that works for them to overcome
Right.
one of their traumas. Um, and sometimes friends will try to push their methods on us,
Hmm.
not fully understanding why the method worked for them and why it probably won't work for us.
Right.
Whereas, like working with a therapist, they're trained to kind of understand where you're coming from, and they
Hmm.
can give you some effective tools to kind of bring it up to friends and family. And I think that it's important for people to realize that take what your friends say, your family say, your coworkers say with a grain of salt. Like
Hmm.
their piece of advice might be very helpful, and I think you can bring it to therapy and
Yeah,
discuss.
absolutely.
But like, if you try the method that your friends and family tried and it still doesn't work, don't think that you're broken and unfixable. It's just your journey has given you different weights to pull around, and the shears that they found to cut the weights off of their anxiety, their depression, their body dysmorphia, like it
Right.
doesn't necessarily cut all threads for everyone. So just
Yeah.
don't throw yourself down too much if some advice you got from a non-professional doesn't help you as much as it helped those people.
Right. No, I think that's super smart.
I mean, I I like to like I just went to like a seminar this weekend, and I learned very quickly that one of my like masks that I've worn in life is I think I'm the smartest person in the room. And that that has shot me in my foot so many times when it's come
uh,
to my journey. And for me, like it was understanding that and getting to the root of that understanding of why I did that, for
yeah.
me to understand why so many things that other people tried to help me with never worked for me.
Mm.
Was I was just like, okay, well, you're not a trained professional. So I automatically discredited everyone. And then
Right.
even going into therapy, uh, I worked with people who weren't gay,
Mm.
and I automatically discredited any advice they tried to give me because I was like, well, you're not gay, so you don't understand me
Yep.
fully. You're giving me advice that might work well for straight people, but I'm
Right.
gay, and that's an added thing for me. And had I not gone into therapy with that mindset, I might have been able to take more advice from other therapists.
For
But
sure.
it definitely helped connecting with someone who kind of, instead of talking to me about my journey as a gay person from another perspective, actually speaking from their own LGBT perspective, it
Hmm.
helped me understand a lot better and accept advice from them more freely. And I think
Yeah,
that that's important too.
that's so cool. I definitely feel like, yeah, my first, like, I've had maybe two or three different therapists, but the first maybe two, I kind of went in with the same mindset of like, just cut out there for a sec. Um, uh, you don't have the same shared experience, so it's hard for me to like take what you say seriously because you'll never like walk in the shoes that I'm walking in. Um, but yeah, same. I've tried to reframe that, like going in, and um, my current therapist is not gay, but I've gone into sessions with her just a little more open-minded of like, okay, I don't know everything here, and I'm gonna let you do the teaching right now, and I will sit back and be quiet.
Yeah.
But
It was
yeah.
interesting because the seminar that I went to this weekend, I was talking to one of my friends that I made in the seminar, and her and I were talking about how it's weird that we became so connected with each other within the seminar, but we didn't learn anything about like our external worlds. So like we learned a lot
True.
about our internal struggles, but we didn't learn about how many brothers and sisters you have.
Right.
Like we went deep right away, so it was like we got to know each other internally behind the walls that we prevent most people from seeing our true identity.
Yeah.
We're actually closer, like able to speak about our feelings and things that we don't like and like so much easier than with a lot of our friends that have known us for years,
Hmm.
because in that seminar we connected on a level that was behind the masks we wear to gain acceptance.
Yeah.
Whereas, like with our friends, we're still speaking through our mask and we're afraid to take it off because we know our friends love us. But do they love us because of the mask, or do they love us because what's behind the mask? And that's sometimes a really scary thing to like take down. Did I lose you? Let's see. Oh, there we go. Let's see if we can get him back. Invite back. There we go. Oh, maybe. Is it me? Let's see. Oh, it's always fun when connectivity kind of disappears. Let's see. Are you back? You're kind of back, kind of gone. Let's see.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Are you connected to Wi-Fi that's like,
Make a difference.
I'm gonna see if I can turn off this real quick. Is that better?
Yeah. Can you? Am I okay on this end?
Yeah. I had
Okay.
my like Apple TV still running in the background, so that might have been causing my internet to slow down a little bit. So fix
Okay.
that. So what
Yay.
was the last thing you heard on your end?
Talking about like taking down or removing the mask with friends
Yes.
in a way, like going so deep with someone that you just met, um, or someone that you were at the seminar with. Yeah, I think it's so interesting. I feel like there are a lot of people in my life, but I don't know how many people actually like know a lot of like all the deep dark stuff. Like I only open up to a selective few, I think. Because it's scary. It's scary. You never know. Like you were saying, like I do you like me because of this like persona that I put on, or this like way of coping, or or do you will you like me for me when you see all of that removed? It's a really scary thing to think about.
It's also like a very freeing experience to know that someone sees the struggles and the pain and the things that you've done that have negatively impacted you, and
Yeah,
know that they're still standing next to you. And it's also interesting because when you start to free yourself from those weights and masks, uh, you start to kind of see who is going to stand there, or who has been attracted into your life because of the like falsehood that you have been presenting. And it's
right.
important for people to like stand in their most authentic self, but be aware that that journey may like push some people out,
Yeah, not everyone can
while
handle that.
other people will show up. Like when
Yeah,
bad ones disappear, that opens a spot for a new one to come.
absolutely. Yeah, I feel like I've gone through that so many times in life. Just like there are people that have been in my life for a period, and the second that stuff got too real, or that they couldn't handle who I actually was, it's just like you grieve that, but then there's always someone that is gonna like kind of step in and like actually like be there and like love you for you and want to get to know all of the like nitty gritty.
Yeah. I've also found that like when I started stepping into a position that was shifting everything that I was used to, I realized that there were things that I had to let go of, and
Mhm.
things that weren't going to come with me on that journey.
Right.
And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that when you like start changing things, like it's not just going to change like that simple thing. And it also, if there's friends in your life that you want to keep around, it's almost like renegotiating your
Mhm.
friendship, even with your parents. Like everyone will face the day where you become an adult and you have to renegotiate that relationship of what parent and adult child looks like versus parent
Right.
child.
Right. Yeah. I feel like there's so much power in change, and I am a person that doesn't love change.
Yeah,
I like change scares me and scares the crap out of me. But there's so much like growth and power in change, especially when you are in control of it too. Like
yeah,
even when it's stuff that you don't want to change or that you feel scared to change, it's like once you make that decision to to move forward or to change that friendship or that relationship with your parents, it's like there is so much power that comes from kind of making that decision and seeing the growth that happens in those periods.
yeah. And it's interesting because like along the journey, we somehow convince ourselves that we don't have as much control as we actually do.
Hmm.
It's like no matter what, change is coming. Like whether you
Yeah.
like it or not, life is progressing every day by 24 hours.
Yeah.
And the importance is like taking the power of knowing that if you like want to make change, you can shift it in the direction you want it to go. It
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy,
Yeah.
but change is going to happen. And some people let life kind of throw them around, and they just don't realize that they adapt to whatever is thrown their way. But
Hmm.
they can also choose to intentionally change in a certain direction and adapt just as easily as they were when life threw it in their plate. It's probably going to
Yeah,
be a little bit less stressful
for
because
sure.
you can kind of almost guess some of the things that might come up and kind of prepare yourself for a change versus just letting life kind of throw it at you whichever direction.
Yeah. I feel like this last like 2 years has been a really good example of, of that for sure. And just kind of like surrendering to like, okay, this is life now. This is like the change that's happened, and I'm either gonna let it like demolish me, or I'm going to like figure out how I can like make this work for me, and how I can take control of it, and how I can like grow from this and learn from this. And um, as much of like a tragedy as this last 2 years has been, I think it's been like a really beautiful time of growth and um, personally like just like learning more about myself and like what I need and what I want and um, the things that I'm willing to do kind of make that life for myself that I desire. So,
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot of self-reflection in
hmm
this pandemic because
yep.
I think for most of us, we kind of projected who we thought the people around us wanted us to be,
hmm
because we felt like to fit in, to be where we're at, we had to project a certain image. Whereas, like during the pandemic, a lot of people kind of had a completely different shift of where they thought they were going to be.
hmm
And it was like some people sat at home. And when you don't have other people around you, you kind of have to start to look at yourself a little deeper than a lot of us used to do because we're really good at distracting ourselves from having to ever do that.
Yep.
But I think reclaiming that time and actually taking the time to figure that out, it's so powerful in that way.
hmm Oh yeah. Yeah. There was just so much time for us to just sit and just be, and it could really go one of two ways. Like it was either productive or it was really destructive.
Yeah.
Um, and it's hard when you have that much time to just kind of like sit with yourself and you have no distractions and you have nothing else to focus on. Um, but yeah, it's just crazy to me that this has been 2 years, and like it feels like that long, but it also has kind of gone past. I don't know. I feel like I like look back at the beginning of it and it feels like forever ago, but I'm also like it's only, I don't know, it's kind of gone by fast, and I've learned so much, and I feel like I'm a completely different person than I was at the start of everything. Um, I don't know. It's so wild. Time is weird.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes it's hard for people to kind of reflect back on the change,
hmm
but it's also hard for some people to reflect back because that has to be them looking back and realizing that they were the change that they made from the beginning of 2020 when it started to who
Right.
they are now in 2022. And like some people like hit the brakes hardcore and allowed the pandemic to control their outcomes. And
Mm,
then others were like, okay, this is inevitable. Like the pandemic is here. What
right.
can I do to still succeed and still make sure that my ship is pointing me in the direction where I still want to go when this pandemic's over?
Yeah.
And I mean, you jumped right back on the ship when things became open and available for you. You're still in that route. Like it was
Yeah.
possible to allow it to derail you to the point where you move away from passion, which is scary. But a lot of
hmm
people, even before the pandemic, allowed life to kind of do that to them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been like it's truly been a roller coaster of just like, I mean, there were moments and even like months and weeks on end where I literally was just like, I don't know if I have passion or desire to do this career or this XYZ thing. Like, I don't know. There was so many moments of like really low lows. And then thankfully, I'm very thankful that like now I'm on the up and up. But it's hard when there's like all this shit happening around you, to like kind of keep that drive and keep that passion. Um, but I'm very thankful that I have kind of like pulled myself out of the pit and started climbing again.
Yeah. So when it comes to like your self identity, because
hmm
that's something that I think that really carries people through life because you can choose an identity for yourself, like who you choose to be and how you introduce yourself. That's one of the reasons why I like having people introduce themselves at the beginning because it's very interesting where people will sit in a power,
mm
and where others will be kind of like dismissive or shy to say who they
Yeah.
are. I think that it's important for people to like realize that the identity you claim and project into the universe is like the identity that will pull you through a pandemic or pull you
hmm
through a depressive state in your life. How would you kind of identify yourself as someone who's got hit by a pandemic right before you were about to go on tour, but
mm
jumped right back on when it allowed itself to open back up to you?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I said this before, but I just have learned so much about myself and like what it is that I want over these last couple of years. And I think I put, prior to the pandemic, my identity was like fully in my job and fully in performing and being an actor. And that was like, that was it. There was like not much else to me. It was very like, I gave every waking, breathing moment to that identity. And now I've learned that I can love this and I can pursue this and this can be my passion, but it also doesn't have to be the only thing about me that I want to share. Or um, there's so much more to me as a human that's not, you know, confined to just what I do for a living. Um, and I think it is hard in like performing. It's a very selfish career, truly. Like it is just, it's hard not to get wrapped up in like only thinking about yourself. And um I think it's easy for, you know, to kind of like put everything you have into this because it's just kind of what everyone around you is doing. But over the last couple of years, I feel like I've just kind of just learned that I have so much more to give than just that. I've deepened relationships with family and friends, and I've like started doing old hobbies again, and you know, just like enjoyed the quiet and enjoyed the rest and the time off, and enjoyed just being like a human in the world, and like kind of just like, I don't know, going wherever the wind takes me has been really lovely. So I guess, like, long story short, I guess my identity would just be in like, I don't know, I love people, and I just like, I love being with people, and I love talking to people and helping people, and I want my identity to be more about like the love that I'm able to give and the help that I'm able to provide people, or the shoulder to cry on that I can be for people, than it is about like, well, I'm an actor and I sing sometimes. Like that's boring. And I want my identity to be something that is just like, I'm a human that just like has a lot to give, and I have a lot of love to share. And um I guess that's kind of where I've landed these last couple months. And I want to go into this next year kind of just like living unapologetically, and just being me, and not really like worrying about what others have to say about it. Because I think we can all say that, but it's really hard to do like in practice. um and now I'm just rambling, but I feel like that's like the long version of of the question you asked.
No, yeah, that's like what I really wanted to get down to was like I think so many people put their identity in their career
Hmm.
um, in a way that when it falls through or doesn't exist for them, that their entire identity disappears. And it's
Right.
so important for people to realize that part of your identity is who you show up as every single day of your life. Because if you're walking into a gas station in another state that you've never been in, your
Hmm.
identity to the people you bump into is not actor, singer.
Right.
Uh, they see you as, are you a polite person? Are you a
Hmm.
friendly person? There are so many other like attributes that we never really identify with. Whereas like it's important to realize that your main identity is something that cannot be taken away from you.
Hmm.
Whether you lose your job, you lose your health, you lose whatever you can lose.
Yeah.
Uh, but your true identity is who stands up and exists every single day when you go out into the world. It's the relationships that you're
Hmm.
capable of being. And before the pandemic, when you asked people that question, most people would jump straight to their careers.
Hmm.
Whereas now there are people, and I think that even the LGBT community can sometimes fall into that, where we put our LGBT label so quickly to the front of the line,
Yeah.
where if we really learned how to back up and kind of look at the core, like things that make us us,
Yeah.
you would be able to realize that you could connect to so many different human beings because
Yeah.
most people care about other people. Most people like want to make a positive impact in the world before they leave it.
Yeah.
And if we could relate to each other on that level instead of putting those really far out there labels that maybe people can kind of see, but for the most part, those labels that we so quickly adapt as our main labels Most people don't see that when they see you out in the world, and it's important to
Right.
realize that.
Right. Yeah, and I think that in a way the pandemic almost helped that because a lot of us were stripped from the job, the title that we held, and we were forced to kind of just sit and be like, okay, who am I as a human being? And like, how do I relate to this person next to me that like we both just lost our job, so our job can't define us right now. So like, I feel like it helped even like when I was serving in a restaurant during the pandemic, like it just helped me be like a better human to like not have my whole identity like leaning on this one small facet of life.
Yeah. And it's important for people to realize like an actor, like you can label yourself as the most successful actor on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And that label is what you will continue to grow towards. And as long as you don't label yourself in the past or present, like
Mm-hmm.
you believe that, because being a good person is something that will take you anywhere that you want to go. Like
Yeah.
all these core things that can't be taken away are the tools that you can use to get you to whatever like the ultimate label that you want to do is. And
Right.
I think too many people are like, well, I'm not an actor now because I'm not acting because I'm
Mm-hmm.
working at a restaurant. I'm a waiter right now. But if you're talking in that way, then you're not moving yourself towards the dreams that you want to be.
Yeah.
Like it's so important for people to realize that like the here and now doesn't matter. What
Mm-hmm.
you choose and want to be as a part of your identity is yours to determine.
Yeah.
Society might tell you you're not an actor right now because you're not in something. But if you choose to believe I'm an actor just because I'm not doing something at this moment, when the pandemic cleans up and you can start doing stuff again, that label can still be there in existence. You
Right.
didn't have to let it go just because you got let go from that job.
Right. Yeah, it's such a that's a good point too, because it is like it's almost a balance of like I have a really hard time like staying present. I like my brain like lives in the past, and like lives in like not so much in the future, but I've been trying to be more present, and like enjoy. But it is this. I think that's like a really interesting point of like living in the present, but also being forward thinking, and like making those plans for yourself and sending that energy forward. I don't know. It's a weird like balance of like how do I like do both almost.
Yeah, it's the mindset, and this is something that I've heard lots of times, but I heard again this weekend, and I was just like, I snapped to it. And it's the difference between having a life where it's have, do, be versus
Okay.
be, do, have. And when it comes to living in a life where you think you have to have something so that you can do something, so that you can be something, versus knowing that that's who you are,
Mm,
living the be, and then being in that mindset will attract everything that you need to have to be successful in that realm of possibilities.
mm,
And it's gotten to the point where like they know that most people are in the have do be, and that's how we sell to people. Like we sell products, makeup, cars, clothes, all of that to the mindset of people who think they have to have all those things to be successful or to be
right.
anything that is respected by other people in society. But when you flip it and you can live in, I am happy without anything, I am an actor without any credentials to back that up. As long
Right.
as you are in that mindset of believing that that's who you are, like that's who you are. Like no one can
Absolutely.
take that away from you.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure that I'm not missing any comments that are popping up. I try to be interactive, but sometimes I get distracted by the conversation. So when it comes to working with other people in the same career path, because I know that like depending on where you are, like being someone in a smaller town, you might
Mm,
be one of the few that want to pursue acting versus living in a bigger city where most people that you are surrounded by are people who are aiming for the same and similar goals. How have you
yeah.
kind of navigated through that and not let that kind of destroy you as a person?
Yeah. That's it's really hard. I I was not good at it for a long time. I know this about myself. I compare myself a lot to people, and I think all of us as humans do. But especially, yeah, I would come home from like auditions and say to my mom like, there was 500 people there today, and they all looked like me and sounded like me, and we all read the scene the same way. Like it's just like it is wild going from like a smaller town into this like big pool. And I think it's just something that like a lot of people that I respect in theater talk about a lot is just like there's only one version of you. So you may be comparing yourself to the 10 people standing next to you, but there's only one you. You have something special about you. You have something to say. You have something to bring to whatever job or industry you're in. And just kind of claiming that and knowing that, like, okay, I might be comparing myself to the person next to me, and I might think they sing better than I do, or they're a better dancer than I am, but they're not me, and I have my own special way of doing it. And not giving so much power to um, the power, I guess, like the powers that be in theater, and just kind of being like, okay, this is what I have to offer, and if this is not what you're looking for, great. That says nothing about who I am as a person. And I think for so long I did that of like, okay, well, that casting director said no, so that means I'm a terrible person and I'm bad at my job and I'm not talented. And having to reframe that of like, okay, it just wasn't the right time, it wasn't the right place. I will be a fit somewhere, and if it's not here, it says nothing about like my character or my talent. It's just like it's a no this time, and that's okay. And not, I think when you release the power from that, you're able to just like almost enjoy it and like kind of go into it with a way better headspace, and it honestly makes the process way more enjoyable because you're not spending the entire time thinking about how do I make myself sound like this person that just went in before me. You're kind of just able to go in and be like, cool, great, this is what I have to offer, and that's it. That's all it is. um it took a while. I would say it took like maybe like 2 or 3 years of like of doing it, and like telling having to like tell myself every time like stop comparing and stop saying these things to yourself, stop listening to that little voice, just like go in, be authentically you, and that is enough, and that's okay.
Yeah. So when it comes to like that kind of topic and mindset, it's so important to not let failures like destroy you, because
Hmm.
we will face way more failures than we ever do like successes in life.
Yep.
And if you allow failures to be the thing that destroys you slowly, you will be destroyed probably before you hit success, because every time
Yeah.
you allow it to destroy you, you are losing a part of your like authenticity, because you're starting to think that your authentic self showing up 100% you somehow wasn't good enough, instead of the
Hmm.
mindset that you shifted to, where it's like, this just wasn't for me. I'm a phenomenal me. This just wasn't
Hmm.
my me space.
Right.
And I was just watching the Tony Robbins seminar, and the woman who created the Spanx for women
Uh-huh.
talked about how her father taught her to celebrate success or failures and go out and come back, and he would ask them
Hmm.
every night at dinner, like, how did you fail today?
Hmm.
So he gave her the mindset of celebrating failure, because to fail you first have to show up,
Yeah.
and if you don't show up, like, you can't fail, but you also will never succeed if you don't show up.
Right.
I was just like blown away, because for me, my childhood, I had going out, bringing back success, and it wasn't celebrated.
Hmm.
So I even developed a negative, like, feeling towards success, but a really negative towards failure. So like
Hmm.
I wasn't able to grow in either way, because
Wow.
I was just like, you know what? No matter what, I'm not good enough. And it
Hmm.
had to, that mindset shift had to happen, to where I was like, you know what? I failed 3 times today, but that was 3 times that I showed up. And that's
Yeah.
better than not showing up at all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Showing up is the first part. I think that's a cool concept to like celebrate failure,
Yeah.
because I mean, you learn something from every failure. You learn something. There's always something that you can take away, and I think too, like for myself, I've had to kind of like sit and be like, okay, what didn't work about that, and how can I improve for the next time, or how can I be more prepared, or while not discrediting, like, okay, well, I showed up in the first place, I did this, and I can't change how I did it, so now next time I will take what I learned from this experience and bring it there.
Yeah. And I
Yo,
mean,
failure's cool.
I mean, if you don't fail, you don't learn either.
Yeah.
And if you can be like, you know what, I had 20 failures today, and then sit down and journal what you learned from that and got better.
Hmm.
Like, if you think in life that success makes you better, it doesn't. A lot of
Hmm.
times, success makes you go, click, turn off. I'm good. I got here.
Yep.
Whereas failure, it's just like, well, I didn't quite hit the mark. What do I have to do to hit the mark?
Hmm.
And helps you grow. And I think that we've trained our minds to really think of it in such a negative way. Whereas
Hmm.
if we can just flip the switch to go, oh, I failed in this sense, but you know what? I showed up, so I succeeded in this way.
Yeah.
It's such a better mindset that kind of moves you to growth instead of holds you in some plateau of like limbo where you're not
Yeah.
ever going to grow.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I love that.
So when you go out and when you audition, do you feel like you bring your most authentic self to the audition?
Some days, yeah. There there are some days that I'm like, wow, that was me. I gave them everything I had, and that, that's all I can do. And there are definitely other days when it's like, okay, I could have been a little more me. I definitely was trying to put something on, or I was trying to do it a certain way because I thought that's how maybe they wanted to see it. Um, but I've also always found the most success I've found has always been on those days when I go in and I just do it, and I have no cares in the world about it. And oh, did I lose you?
I can still hear you. Nope. Let's see. Adding back. There we go.
Wi-Fi is not our friend today.
That's how life is sometimes.
Ooh, sorry about that.
So the question that I wanted to ask, like after that answer there, was when it comes to the days that you feel like you didn't show up your most authentic self and you felt like you were kind of shifting to kind of be something that you thought they wanted versus who you
Hmm.
were, do you feel like those days were maybe days where you wanted something a little bit more and maybe experienced self-doubt in that
Hmm.
experience, whereas the ones where you kind of showed up more your authentic self, was it something that maybe you were auditioning for where there wasn't as much attached to it for wanting it?
100%. Yeah. It's and I can see it too. Like I know it's happening. Like those auditions that I like really care about and I want it so bad are the ones that I go in and I give them this like fake version of me because I'm trying to impress them, or I'm trying really really hard to get the job. And then it's the days that I walk in and I'm like, this would be fun, but like, eh. Like it's like those ones that I always wind up like that work out because I just have like released any pressure. I don't give them any power. I just go in, I do what I know I can do. And then those are always the ones that I'm like, okay, well, I know that audition worked out because I went in and was like, okay, sounds good. But it's always the ones where I'm like, I really, really want it that I get in my head and I compare myself and I doubt myself, and then it just doesn't happen. And it's that's what I've been trying to learn from too. Is just like kind of like level the playing field, treat them all the same, no matter how bad I want it. This is what I have to offer, and like I can't change that based on whatever it is, the job that I want. Trying to treat them all the same and go into the same headspace is really tricky, but yeah, for sure, I can tell exactly which auditions I'm gonna like not flop, but like I can tell when I'm like, this is not me, and I'm trying way too hard.
Yeah, and I think that that's how like almost every single person shows up until they can get themselves in that mindset where all of it's the same.
Hmm.
Because when we really want something, that's when we start to doubt ourselves. That's why, like, when artists who write their own songs get so much more nervous to perform their own song versus performing another artist's song that they're just
Hmm.
doing a cover of, because there's so much more fear of judgment or fear of failure attached to that than there is doing something that you could give the blame to someone else. So
Right.
it's just like, you know what, that song wasn't that good, but that artist didn't write it that well anyway.
Right.
Whereas if you wrote it yourself, you're like, oh my gosh, like if people hate this, they hate me,
Right.
which isn't true. They
Yeah.
just didn't like the song. It has nothing to do with you, just as if they didn't like the song that you did a cover of. It's
Yeah.
not you, it's just them. And it's
Yeah.
important for people to kind of detach that
Hmm.
because until you can detach that and realize that everything is neutral. All events are neutral until you
Hmm.
give it meaning. And when
Yep.
you give an audition that you really, really, really want so much meaning that it's like, if I don't get this, I'm going to be hurt, versus if I don't get this, it just wasn't my place.
Hmm.
Like, it's important to kind of stack as many positives to that neutral moment so that you go into it and you're like, you know what, I was made for this role and I'm about to give you the best audition you've ever seen,
Right.
and walk out and you're like, I got that, versus allowing yourself to like add all these negative attachment thoughts to it before it even happens, and then you
Right.
walk in there and you're like, I don't know if I'm the right one. Everyone out there looks just like me, and I heard that one
Yep.
guy singing and he can hit those notes better than me, and it's like,
Hmm.
oh no. You've
Yep.
walked into the audition with all those thoughts already, and whether you think they can read it or not, they can. And it's so
100%.
easy.
Yeah. Oh, I'm for sure sometimes my own worst enemy. I think we all are. We all kind of self-sabotage a little bit in those, I mean, in any circumstance, but in a circumstance like that, it's so easy to just like listen to all the nitpicky things that are going on in your brain and let that like kind of tear you down. And it is people pick up on that. People like can tell when someone walks into a room in any area of life with confidence versus when they are like just living in their head and overthinking.
Yeah, and sometimes all it really takes is for you to step out into that fear and just do it, and do it the way that you've done all the ones that you didn't really care about. And
Right.
once you get that role, your your new perspective is, I can obtain what I want,
Yep.
versus doing it in all the fear and not letting go of that fear, and then not getting it and just confirming what your ego has been telling you all along, that you're not good enough for that role that you really, really want.
Right.
If you can step out of it and just cut those ties of fear and just be like, I am perfect. I am perfect
Mhm.
for this role. Like, I was born for this. This is something that I know will bring me all the joy in the world. So that's like going back to like that identity that you allow yourself to have. Do you
Yep.
walk into that role or audition saying, I could be an actor that plays this role? Or do you go
Mhm.
into it with the title already attached to yourself? Like, walk in there and be like, I am the next whatever role
Right.
you're auditioning for. And the mindset changes. And it's important for people to realize all the physical stuff that you do as well before you go into that situation, like, creates that mindset as well. So like, do you stand in the mirror and look at yourself and go, I don't got this?
Right.
Or do you stand there and you like look at yourself and like, look at that future whatever role I want, looking at
Yeah.
the mirror today, let's go get this.
Yeah.
It's so important to do that.
Yeah. And I mean, even going back to identity, like I think once you release the like this will make or break who I am as a human, to just like, okay, it wasn't the right fit, like that. I don't know, when I'm just like, cool, I bombed that audition, but now I'm gonna go get a drink with my friend and I'm gonna have a good night. Versus like I'm gonna go sit in my bed and like cry because this means I'm a horrible human being. Like it's very drastic.
Yeah.
And reshaping that mindset is I think super important and helpful to like your success and to seeing all those things that you want come to fruition.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think about, like, if you're going out to have a drink with your friends, like after maybe an audition didn't go the way you wanted it, think about it as a celebration of a failure that helped you grow in a way,
Yeah.
instead of a drink to kind of mourn over something that you
Right.
lost, because technically you didn't lose it because you never had it. Uh,
Right.
so if you shift your mindset about what you're doing for it and just be like, hey, cheers to another failure that's leading me
Yeah.
to the right place I need to be in life, it changes your mindset when you go into those things.
Absolutely. I'm doing that forever from now on.
Celebrate it.
Celebrating failure.
Well, I know that we're getting close to the end of the hour. So, was there anything that you wanted to kind of add as kind of a piece of advice to anyone who might be struggling to kind of get to the mindset that you have gotten yourself to? I know that there's always room for our own personal growth, but
Right.
maybe someone who's maybe 10 steps behind you that might be struggling to get to where you are now. Is there any
Mm.
advice that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think, I mean, for me this year, the biggest thing that's helped me is just I mean, we talked about therapy and stuff, but like confiding in people and like allowing the people that are in your life to help build you up and to rely on people. I'm a type of person, I like to do things by myself. I like to figure things out by myself. I like to like, I don't know, I like to be in control. And so the second that I was able to kind of like surrender that and allow the people in my life to help build me up and to like go through this with me, um, I was then able to like to pick myself up and like kind of evaluate what the next steps were and change my mindset. And um, so I think just yeah, I think I would just say like rely on the people that are around you, and also just like recognize that you're a badass and you like are capable of so many things and you have so much to offer. Um, I think once you start kind of stepping into that power of like knowing who you are and fully just like believing that regardless of outcome that you are a good human and you have like lots of things and lots of beautiful things to share with the world, like it just it helps kind of take you out of that pit and kind of propel you forward a bit.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and I love that you use like the word I like control because like
Hmm.
that's every human in the world. We
Yep.
we don't receive until we learn to let go of control because as long as we think that we have control, we are blocking something from coming into our life. And just knowing that you are deserving of all the things that the people that surround you can pour onto you,
Yep.
like as soon as you like let go of that control, realizing how much everyone around you has to offer, it's a crazy shift. And
Yeah.
it's like when you're in that mindset, like things just start to fall onto your plate that you never thought.
Absolutely.
Just making sure that your identity that you formed around yourself is in line with the thing that you really want. It's crazy how once you let go and just kind of accept what the world wants to give you,
Hmm.
like the things that instead of having to go out and seek it, like your friends and your connections will start to bring everything that you've kind of wanted into your life in a way that you never thought was possible before. You
Yeah.
thought you had to fight for it, but really you just had to stop controlling everything because we none of us have control really, and just allow
Yep.
the like universe to, you still have to work hard, but the
Yeah.
universe
Oh,
will
absolutely.
provide if you stop trying to control and blocking what you think you don't need and just allow the good things to come in.
Yeah. So many things fall into place when you just kind of let go of control and see where the wind takes you.
Yeah, there's too
Yeah.
many things in this world going on that we don't even know are happening for
Right.
us to think that we have the power to control everything to get what we want. Because I mean, just putting stuff out there into the universe, I've been offered things that I never even knew I wanted until
Mm.
they're like, hey, would you want this? And I'm like, sure, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That's so cool.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for jumping on
Yeah.
here and doing this. I really appreciate it. And I
Yeah.
wish you all the luck and success. I
Thank
know you're
you.
going to get everything that you want out of life. And if there's ever
Thanks.
anything that you think of that I can do to help you, please let me know.
Thanks. I appreciate you having me. It's been such a pleasure to like talk and get to know you a bit more.
Yeah, most definitely. I enjoy getting to know you as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, have a good rest of your day, and I will
Thank
talk to
you.
you soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.